Oh, yeah. Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voice is clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better systems, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Protection Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. Switches, streaming, mics and light, making every moment land just right. Guests and makers join the conversation, bringing insight, crafting innovation. From the first idea to the final frame, every tool can change the game. Manufacturers, pros and brands, sharing real solutions firsthand. Live or hybrid, room or remote, every cue and every note. Smarter workflow, stronger shows. That's the way the power grows. It's the Protection Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. When the pressure's on, we raise the game. New ideas and trusted names. Every week another view. Fresh tech, fresh talk. Something new. It's the Protection Professionals Power Hour, where ideas and technology flower. For the shows that need to shine, for the moments that go live on time. From the gear rack to the control room view, we bring the best straight through to you. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour.
No, really, truly, truly, I am going to get my guitar out one of these days. I really am. I love that riff at the end. But that's the last of the AI content you're going to get on this show. But perhaps in a way not. What's happened at NAB? It's not as though I can really be struck by anything dramatic, but it's the pernicious creeping of technology in certain directions. That's what I see. Of course, if you disagree with me, or even if you do agree, love to hear some comments in the chat, whether you're on YouTube or in the studio with us. You see, obviously I have my own little world of streaming and production that I live in, and I'm going to look at the things that are closest to me. But I'm always interested to see what's happening far away, because far away never seems to stay that far away after a while. So I'm going to give you the top 6 of my ideas, and I'm wondering if Mike's going to come up with some different perspectives or even some different products to add to the list. But I'm going to start with something which I don't think was even announced at NAB, but is interesting for the same reasons as you'll see. and that is from our friends at TechSmith. Now, TechSmith do screen recording software. Yeah, you broadcast guys will be wondering, what the heck has that got to do with anything to do with you? Well, it's got a lot to do with the area of screen sharing and demonstration videos and things like that. And the curious things that happened on that product is if you update your version now to the latest, when you go to import media, you're given an option to import media from Zoom. Yeah, those guys at Zoom, you know, the guys that do all that broadcast related-ish stuff. You can now import a video from Zoom. I find that interesting because those two companies shouldn't really have a relationship, but now they do. You can take Zoom recorded events and meetings and pull them into Camtasia, the screen sharing software, to edit them and play around with them. I bet no one thought I was going to start with something like that. I know from his face, Mike never thought I was going to start with anything like that. So let's go to the next one, a much more obvious one for the world that I live in. If you know me well, then you'll know that I'm talking about Black Magic Design. Wow. They've gone all in on 2110, SMTP, whatever they want to call it. It is now an ecosystem for broadcast, a horrendously large ecosystem for broadcast. Now, they have, I don't think I can think of any product that they have now that hasn't got a 2110 version, even cameras with 2110 built into some of them. It's a big, bold move. It doesn't affect me today, but that technology could creep down the ladder. As I think I've said before in other shows, it's not something you can just buy one piece of equipment and feel satisfied. You need to buy two, three, four, five, six, seven, maybe a whole rack's worth of equipment to really commit into a 2110 environment. But the fact that it's working well in broadcast is something which will have an effect on the rest of us. Um, there are lots of really good protocols out there now for getting network data around when it's video, when it's live, and when it's recorded. And as we'll see, this ability to shove video signals up and down networks is becoming really important to the industry. And I'm certain from what I know of other things going on that this is going to be something that's going to build in the future. We won't go into detail on that one anymore for now, but let's go to the next thing. Oh, yes. Our friends at VizRT. Now, what's interesting about what they did at NAB for me is they were demonstrating their, again, for broadcast. In other words, it's very expensive. But what they demonstrated was their AI technology. Yes, AI got back into the conversation, which allows them to use the AI to understand a background that is not green screen, not blue screen, not a video wall, but a real place. Maybe pitch side is a good example for the target market that I know they're working on. And the AI will then understand what that background is. So it can then superimpose its own sort of background, which may not take up the whole screen, but maybe just like can I think of an example? I can. Yeah. So when we have football interviews in the UK, and I've noticed it on other sports as well in America, they will have this big perspex screen in the way of the background and the camera, and it will have little logos of all the sponsors and things like that. And then the interviews will happen in front of that screen. And that screen is usually, as I said, usually something like perspex. It's not always solid. Quite often you can see the background of the arena behind you, and it's not always taking up the full camera shot, and therefore you can see the arena behind you. So this amazing AI background manipulator, I think is probably the best way of describing it, from VizRT, allows you to have the AI understanding what the background is. And by the way, that background can be moving. It's not static. It then can bring in some sort of images or two of, or just the one for a sort of studio effect into the scene. And then you can bring on stage your commentator, maybe some people being interviewed, maybe multiple commentators. and it just sorts the whole thing out in real time. In real time. Now, there are some AI products that I've played around with who can take a real scene and be able to understand it as a proper background and then process in front of it. That's what's happening here at this moment. But to do it at broadcast quality in real time with AI is another step forward in this technology, which is amazing. And it just shows again how the broadcast world now is getting really good because it's got lots of tools from manufacturers in being able to make this, well, I would call it more of an augmented reality type world, that you have a whole load of things that you can drop into a real world background. And so you're mixing the real and the virtual in the same shot and in real time and at 50 frames a second or whatever as well. It's quite amazing, that technology now. I expect Mike has got a few things to say about that. I should really call him in and see what he thinks. Um, he has so much fun in production studio. Sometimes it's difficult to get him to join us. But Mike, this virtual reality, augmented reality world, it's getting quite well, it's the term we like to use. It's getting quite sexy now, isn't it, really?
Sexy is a fair word. Hello, everybody. So, yes, sexy is definitely a fair word when it comes to the augmented reality that you're speaking of, John. So, again, it is basically green screen on steroids, is what it is for the most part. It's not your Zoom. I'm going to be on a Zoom calls green screening. No, 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 no. This is not for the faint of heart. This is for if you are an influencer, then you need to be a caliper of, where you've got good budgets and
Yeah, I was just looking for my card. I was just looking for my credit card then. Yeah, you probably need a couple of credit cards if you're going to use this tech.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, your limit will vary. Yeah, exactly. If you don't have that good credit limit right now, chances are you're not going to get an augmented reality for a good price. And on top of that, too, NAB is a great place, very much like CES for futures, right? And this is what John is also talking about, too, is that, NAB, perfect example, Black Magic, a lot of the products that John was talking about, Black Magic wise, especially some of their new 2110, you're not going to have it for a few months. The show is not for you to buy it tomorrow. There are some brands that are allowing that to happen, but that is not this type of show. This type of show is for the broadcasters, in theory, for the broadcasters, which we are now becoming a broadcaster as an influencer. So that's why everything is starting to, at NAB, starting to come down to, the production level, not the broadcast level. There's my two different differentiating between the two. Are we all in the same industry? Yes. Is the broadcast industry always been, the broadcast industry, the easy way to say it for the broadcast industry is it is more of if you're a broadcaster, chances are you have a full-fledged studio that is fairly permanent. And I mean fairly permanent, meaning in the regards of it can be modified, but it's still your physical building that you can do physically anything you want.
Okay.
As compared to the live event production world, where you're bringing everything to that venue and turning it into a temporary studio.
I got a good example then for you. I believe it's a good example anyhow. Rode. Now, Rode have got, and I've got one here because I used one last night. Rode have got a good range of wireless type devices that you can connect, as we did last night, to a headset. You can clip them on people, and they've got a whole range of these at different price points, but they've just gone upmarket into the broadcast quality world with their new Rode 2 UHF wireless device, that's a broadcast quality product But as you say, it may be one of those products that people who are not in broadcast but want quality will consider purchasing.
Right. So this is now pushing the boundaries of where Rode is always known in the, I don't really want to even call them consumer, but let's use that word.
Prosumer?
They are 100% always been prosumer.
Yeah.
And recently their parent company has bought a company that is specializing in professional wireless. So now they have now said, okay, we're Rode, yes, and then Letrasonics, I believe, is the actual other company that they bought. So now they've combined their knowledges together, and now Rode is now have a UHF model of that John is just talking about that was released just before NAB. That model was working in conjunction with them, with the new company that parent company just recently bought, to actually bring in their technology that they've been doing for years, and they're well known in the wireless industry, wireless microphone industry for years now, to Rode. So that's where now they're tickling now. We love being prosumer, but we want to dabble into this, professional scenario. We're not going to be broadcast necessarily, because that's where our other company is best at. But we want to be the low-end broadcaster, high-end prosumer. That's where they're sort of tickling right now, is up there. So if you are running into a lot of problems in congested areas with a 2.4 gigahertz unit that John was just showing you, then yes, you will be looking at Rode's UHF model 100%, because it is night and day the difference in frequency agility. What's that? What is that word I'm trying to think of? The frequency variance that will allow you to be able to find that clear channel uninterrupted while you're using your wireless microphones.
Yeah, it's a good example of a piece of technology that you can use in your prosumer use, which is expensive because of what it is, but at least it's a purchase of one item. Whereas if you want to go into, as we talked about earlier, or I talked about earlier, the black magic world, where you'd have to have 2 or 3 items to connect each of them to create this new world of a 2110. This is a good example, I think, of a product that, as you say, they have a professional or even mega professional broadcast type range from another company in the organization, but they've decided that this boundary between what is prosumer, what is broadcast, can be filled in a little bit with a UHF radio, which they know, because let's not do ourselves down. If we are broadcast pros, but we're not in the TV broadcast industry, that still means that we can be responsible for events where there can be hundreds of people in the room, if not thousands of people, and we might want to be streaming it at the same time. And in those environments, yeah, this little guy is gonna get overrun by other people using the same technology in their phones. So to have a proper UHF base transmitter and receiver for my audio would be something that I would want. And it's a good example, I think, of something that's dropping in to merge the boundaries. Zoom is going the other way, of course, because Zoom is adding lots of software to make their environment compatible with broadcast industry. They have Zoom ISO, they've got Zoom ISO Cloud, which they've just announced. And okay, yeah, I know I'm mentioning Zoom again, but I'm mentioning Zoom again because there's a lot of cloud-related things that happened to NAB. I noticed even Atmos, who are well known for their video screens, they've now got a unit which allows you to stream, and they've got their own version of a cloud hosting support world. I can't talk into much detail because I didn't understand some of it, but I know what the Atmos. I know, if I was wanting a good quality screen with my camera, I would be looking at the Atmos recorders and the Atmos screens, and the fact that they are now going into the cloud as well just shows that that is probably that's the place where all this technology is going to end up connecting together, isn't it, Mike? They're all going to end up being cloud related at some point.
Right. Yeah. So product number one would be get the product, if it's not already currently able to understand IP, to get it to be able to understand IP in one form or another. So that would be, so make it, because again, a lot of products are not necessarily got network capabilities on them. So that would be point number one. And then point number two is, okay, what is the technology once I've got that product on the network? What technology am I going to use? Blackmagic is all in, as we heard just before NAB, to be 2110, IP 2110. So that is the mechanism of being able to get their signals from their equipment from one location to another location. Right? So that's where that. Now there is other technologies. Yes, some of you already know about NDI. So that is another technology. And again, other products are still on the NDI bandwagon, and they are adding that. There is also Dante AV. So there's also, for those people that are already using Dante audio, Dante also has a video component. So very easily, again, if video component or that video product wants to add Dante related video, then that is a capability as well. So that if you've already invested in the Dante infrastructure in your location, it's already there. It's just a matter of adding video components to that scenario. So again, it all comes down to your workflow too. So once that product has got IP, then it's a decision of, okay, how am I getting that out of that unit via IP? And that is what the world of broadcast has been doing over the last few years. And as you can see, it's more and more getting to the point of where products know that they have to be. If they're not, they're behind. They're behind the eight ball at that particular point. So at this particular point, it's a matter of making sure that their product is network capable. Then the decision becomes, do I make that product all in on one technology, or do I make that product all in on maybe possibly two or three technologies? But again, you've got to be careful too, us as well, working on our own brand of cameras, is that I've got to make the decisions of, okay, is the market going to buy an NDI camera? Is the market going to buy a Dante camera? Is the market going to buy an IP 2110 camera? Right? And again, with Blackmagic's big push, they basically knew that they had to add 2110 capabilities to their cameras as well, because they wanted that part of their whole ecosystem. Right? And that's what it comes down to, is your working environment of being able to, multiple vendors, great. But again, now you have to have you have to still speak the same language, right? And even it's been told that the industry is still undetermined what to do with Blackmagic, because they've actually modified the 2110 spec for their equipment, right? That's not true 2110. But if you are using all of their 2110 products, you're fine. But if you tried to use another brand with the Blackmagic 2110 products, you may run into difficulties, because they may not talk, quote unquote, the same language, because there might be a modification here or there that was omitted by Blackmagic from the original spec. So again, there's a lot of this stuff going on. And there's also, as John said, the cloud. So now everybody's starting to, and again, the broadcast world, more specifically, especially since COVID happened, is moved a lot to the cloud so that people can remotely switch shows. So as long as I can get that source from X location to the cloud, I can be quote unquote anywhere that has an internet connection and be able to get into that cloud source and be able to do something, or if anything I want to it. But yeah, that's the big push right now, is to for broadcasters to figure out what the infrastructure is going to look like, and if they've already invested in that infrastructure, what will work with it now, and NAB shows them what is going to be able to work with it in the future.
There's some great content here from Sony that I've just been reading about. Cameras outside my budget again. Lovely cameras, way outside my budget and way outside my use case. But I did notice that they've also released a control unit for high quality IP ready camera control unit. So even Sony, who's known for fantastic cameras, is now starting to look at IP related equipment to come out as well. I didn't see a Sony cloud, which is surprising because I thought that all the manufacturers now were producing their own clouds. But they have a network RX station, a on-premise application that brings camera content straight into the production, which is another thing that's been bubbling underneath, isn't it, Mike? This idea that the output from the cameras can be used for replays and for content almost within seconds of it being recorded.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And even Blackmagic mentioned that as well, where you could actually bring in the raw. If you set up their ecosystem that like they would want you with all the different parts, you could potentially actually do, video replay via DaVinci Resolve. We won't get into how, because that's a whole show by itself, but the capabilities are becoming there, because again, Blackmagic even knows that right now they don't have that replay system. So what they've done is they built it into their DaVinci Resolve software so that you could actually do that replay on the fly. Now, will the broadcast world embrace using DaVinci Resolve for instant replay? Again, the broadcast world is very hardware based. So they still want that, different wheels and such, so they can actually, zip back quickly into the replays and such to be able to do things. But they're modifying themselves as well.
Yeah. Got a bone to pick with you, the industry, about that. It's not true, is it? Really? You're all starting to cheat, I think is the polite word, because a lot of this dedicated hardware turns out to be some operating system with some software loaded on it. I think you need to call it well, I don't know what the word is, but utility machines rather than dedicated hardware. Maybe dedicated hardware needs to be redefined as, this is a PC, we know. So is your cache point machine, but it's not going to do anything else. Well, at least a cache point machine shouldn't do anything else. And really, you should make sure that and even you guys at the lower levels of the prosumer market, please stop installing all this other software on your machines. It slows them down. Says a guy who knows it, because I have to close down all these stupid little apps. I mean, even LinkedIn wants to try and jump in on this machine every time I try and use it. You need to make sure that your machine is a clean machine. Oh, that would be a good the clean machine show. Let's have clean machines. Okay, I have in my head the names of a number of companies who have maybe at the base level a software version of their software, and then after of their mixer desk software, whatever it is, and then after that they have these appliances. But guys, you've got to be honest, those appliances are running on Windows, Linux, or whatever you had as your base operating system. And to call them dedicated equipment, it's a little bit of a fine line now. And I'm not warning you, I'm not threatening you, but you will be outed by your competition, and you'll be out them, and it'll all be a war of you're not really dedicated. You're only dedicated when you have dedicated electronics, and a CPU is not running software, it's running dedicated custom custom applications running on a custom machine, and you don't boot into anything, you just run electronic commands. Because we need to know when you're fibbing or not, because that's when you start using software rather than a hardware appliance, that's when we get all those issues about lag and things hiccuping and hesitating. Is it not, Mike? Please back me up on this.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. I will absolutely I will back you up on this. And again, everybody knows me that, oh, Mike, you're the hardware guy, you're not the software guy. No, 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 no. I've been playing with software for years. I just know the limitations of software. And again, John is exactly right. You know, anytime I've used software-based video production products, that PC, server, you name it, is that is all it does. Full stop for me. It will never do anything ever again. It will never surf. It will never have a browser on it if I didn't have to. It will never have Word. It will never have Office. It will never have a free version of Office. It will never be checking my email, which I've seen in many churches, and you know who you are, churches that have decided to hack certain pieces of hardware to make sure that you can all of a sudden, oh yeah, when we're not broadcasting at the church, I want to check my email. Nope. Again, if you have the mentality of, if you're using software for broadcast, that piece of hardware now should be dedicated to only that software. As soon as you start adding, as John was saying, you know, and then all of a sudden LinkedIn popping up, and all of a sudden you're in the broadcast, and all of a sudden you got a be-doo. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's like, no. Then something else is running that shouldn't be running, and it's taking away the potential for that software, video production software that you're running, to do its job, because something else is fighting for it. And this is where John is exactly talking about when it comes to a lot of the, yes, people are moving to the software world a lot more now, especially in the production world, but be careful. It's not a desktop. It's not really even a workstation. It's a dedicated appliance that you're using for video production that just so happens to be a PC, a Mac, a server, whatever.
yeah. This is what's interesting about all this stuff going to the cloud, because don't forget, guys, the cloud is software. It's just software. But the advantage of the cloud, and I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to keep mentioning the Z word. So, but the advantage of the cloud is that you can have your production equipment talk directly to the cloud and the software up there. And that means that cloud software can be controlled by somebody who's not at the same venue. It could be back at your main base, and they talk to that directly. Why is the advantage of that? Well, the advantage of that is really just round trips. If your control guys are going to stay at your base and they're going to have all the video feeds brought to them, then the first problem is you've got to have a big enough internet connection to take all those feeds. And then you produce it, and then you send it back out. So you're now going to have enough feeds to send it the other direction as well. If you can have it all happening in the cloud, then everybody can all collate around the cloud. And if you've got round trip challenges because you're doing something in real time, whether it's in real time to YouTube or real time to broadcast, if you can just get everything up to the cloud and then control it from there and bring it down, you stop lots of round trips of video going into somewhere to somebody's machine to be produced, to go back up to the cloud, to go to the next person. You don't want that, because it just slows things down. And it only needs to slow things down by half a second And it's so obvious because now you've got different parts of your production can all be appearing completely out of sync. And that really, then it really shows up. And I don't just mean it shows up on a broadcast, it shows up on a streaming thing as well. If you start having different bits of your speakers coming in through different methods and they arrive at different times, you've then got to work out what the delays are, and it's a nightmare. Take it from me, somebody who's done a 2 hour presentation with an echo of his voice, eighth of a second behind him all the time. It is a nightmare to actually understand what's going on when that's happening. But there was another little thing that I did say that, well, no, there's 2 other little things, but I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to mention the companies because there was a lot more companies doing it than I can probably remember 3 of. There's a lot of consumer plus. I don't think they would always be called prosumer in a lot of cases. Maybe consumer plus type manufacturers who are now who are NAB trying to pretend their production quality is good enough to be prosumer and trying to infer that they would be useful in a broadcast world. Guys, no, you're not. You can't do this. It's not. I don't know who's thinking that it's you can't have a $100, $200, $300 product that maybe does cameras or video or audio and think that you're a broadcast product. You're not. Please just accept the market you're in, which is big enough anyhow. Don't do anything more. But there was something that you can use, and it doesn't matter if you buy the $50 version or the $3,000 version. I am always, because I like toys, I'm always blown away, Mike, by what happens when people find that software is too complicated to use with a keyboard and a mouse, and they come out with these amazing control units. I mean, there's just anything you could ever think of. And I know there's companies that do bespoke versions as well. The number of control units, and then you see this amazing production system, and maybe they've got one of those little there's little Elgato Stream Decks in there, which is being controlled just to do the extra things they couldn't do easily somewhere else. The whole ecosystem of these control units is just amazing to me.
Yeah. And again, it comes from camera controls, as John was talking about, from Sony. Now all of a sudden making it on via IP to PTZ controllers, to buttons that can be made to do whatever you want to program them to console units, to rack mountable units, to tabletop units, to there's all kinds of different variations of them. Again, it gets you away from, if you are truly using PC as a hardware for software switching as an example, or video production, then yes, for years, even in the edit world, you could actually buy special, USB or Thunderbolt based controllers that can help you do your editing processes because they are specifically made for the specific software that you are running on that PC or Mac or insert here. Right. So they have been around for many, many years, but they're getting much, much more available, would be the right terminology, for a decent price point that the prosumers are starting to go, maybe I should look at them a little more. Where back in the day, again, they were only made for the broadcast world because it was the broadcast world for the longest time that was only using XYZ software here. Right. So, nowadays for a prosumer to understand what a DAW is a lot more probable, which is digital audio workstation, is a lot more probable now than it was, 5-10 years ago, where, you would never even think of running your audio mixer on a computer. Everything was done manually on an actual physical audio interface, or, as John was saying, an audio controller that mimicked an audio mixer interface, which there, of course, getting back to our friends at Blackmagic, here we go again. Now there's where we bring this around. Now there's Fairlight Live, where Blackmagic, if anybody did have a chance to look at the building on the outside, Blackmagic paid lots of money to blast up. Boom. You're not even walking into the main doors and it says Fairlight Live. Come visit us at our Blackmagic booth. Why? Because now they are trying to do that big push of Fairlight Live to the broadcast industry, because they're going, hey, we might actually have a digital audio workstation type interface now, even though you already know us for Fairlight. We're starting to care more about it, and now we're starting to show how much we care about it. And now they're sort of bringing the DaVinci Resolve-ish Fairlight scenario that they've had in their DaVinci Resolve software for a long time now into the world of, again, the broadcasters going, oh, okay. So if I'm truly Blackmagic and, heaven forbid, 2110, I can actually now play with Fairlight Live and just buy, as John was saying, a console that controls the software. Do I need the console? No, because I can do everything in the software. But as John was saying, it just makes your life a heck of a lot easier if I've got the buttons in front of you and I'm not fighting with a mouse and a keyboard.
Yeah. And of course, at the broadcast level, you've got guys dedicated for the recordings, you've got guys dedicated for the replays, you've got guys dedicated for the audio and for the video and for controlling the whole lot together and managing it. They're all different people in that sort of setup. And yeah, I almost thought, guys, why does it take you so long to produce this Fairlight panel? It should have been available for ages. I think it's been there in a different guise, hasn't it, in the previously? But it's sort of been the younger sister of all the bits that they provide at Blackmagic for controlling all their systems. So the fact that they've now got this really, really cool and sexy reacting, in real time and working with you type Fairlight live audio panel, which does look really cool, then it's about time, really. And also it reminds you, of course, that all that stuff that people do manipulating the audio, it's been there for ages in Blackmagic, and it's just now more available in Blackmagic. So they brought that to the fore. I am only concerned, and I think I've said this before. I know I've said this before. I can't remember which shows I've said it on, but I am getting a bit concerned now of this overfunction overlap. I think it's the technical term I'm going to use. We might get that dictionary sorted out sometime, Mike. Yes. What I mean by that is when you have a function that just happens in all your apps. So being able to take away the booming low frequencies if you want to, and have a expander and those sort of basic level, shall we say, standard level audio functions. Problem is they're now turning up all the products. So we got the same problem we had with video that we've now got it with audio. You may, as a simple example, you may use some little twiddles to get rid of some background sound or some background noise that's annoying because the building next door is having a new wall removed and you want to get rid of that frequency. But when that wall goes away and you want to have that frequency back, you've got to work out at what level you filtered your audio, because you can get these guys. Well, there's some manipulation inside the box here. The software that it connects to, there's some manipulation in there. When you go to your video production, there'll be some software in there. You might have 2, 3, 4 different places where that audio could be processed. And please, 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 no one put in a audio way to get rid of please. Please make sure you know where you are processing your audio. If you want to process it close to the microphone end and make it clean so it's clean through the whole system, that's fine. If you want to bring everything in raw and let the broadcast end choose what needs to be cleaned up, that's fine too. And if you want to have an audio guys and they want to hang out in the middle, fine. But just make sure, if you can, you process your audio once per wherever it came from. Maybe in the final mix, you can have a last little bit of touching up the whole mix processing. But please do not process your audio in multiple places. Don't let these software do it for you either, because you will have a nightmare if you ever want to tweak something, because they'll all work against each other. So make it one place where you know your audio is being processed, and that is what you rely on. And if you get some new toy which has got better audio processing and you want to use that, fine. But then take the system that you had before and neutralize it back to original sound or whatever its equivalent is, no processing, and then take the processing elsewhere. But it's a big, big problem. And from experience of the event I did last night, I decided I couldn't understand what the heck was going on with the tech. So I used these, and I used headsets. And for the recording, I collected my audio completely independent of the venue, because I didn't trust the venue's kit. I trusted even less the guy that was supposed to tell me how it worked. And I just went, we've got one main presenter, I'll mic her up. And it doesn't matter if she talks to the podium or walks away from the podium. If you use the handheld mic or not use the handheld mic, I'm going to have this connected to a pretty head, and I'm going to get the audio I want straight from the mouth, and no processing or mucking around by the venue. That's my rant. And I'm sorry, but I probably will use that rant on a regular basis, because it is an ongoing problem at all levels.
Sure is. Sure is. Yeah. And again, John, yeah, you've run into the scenario that I ran into for years doing my productions as well, before I'm in my current position where I am here now. And again, it got to the point of it made less headaches for me on site when I'm doing the actual production for me to bring it than forget it. How's that for a simple way of saying it? So if I'm willing to put up with the potential of the dismay of things falling apart, assuming there's that word that nobody likes doing, assuming that the venue has everything that they are supposed to have, and look at John already saying no, that the official answer is you're better off to bring everything and use very little to nothing at the venue. The most that I will use, to be quite honest, and this is before I got out of doing it fairly full time, was the venue's audio system. Everything else I didn't trust for the most part. If they had a projector in the building, great. If they had TVs in the building that they're going to use for that certain event, great. But it got to the point where they, even venues, quote unquote, promising the client and also promising me that the skill set was there or the equipment was there, usually came to bite me in the bum in the end. So it only takes so many of those to actually make sure that you change your ways. Go ahead, John.
How can I say this? If a venue can't provide the audio suitable for the room in which the audio has been built, then there's no hope. You shouldn't be at that venue. So yes, I would hope that the audio provided by the venue will fill the space, and it should be better than anything I can bring, because I don't have a range of speakers to suit all the different types of rooms and situations there are. So I would agree with that. I would expect the audio to be good for the room. I would expect the screens or the TVs or whatever that are hung on the walls are again suitable for the size of the venue. So I agree totally with you on that. But if I'm going to record the event, if I'm going to stream the event, which effectively is the same thing, it's just one's in real time and one's a recorded version, then I'm going to use my own equipment. And the one thing I'm starting to use a lot, which I find great fun, is I have an everything cam. And basically that means I'll put a camera really at the back of the venue so it can see everything. And now I'll never use it in the production because it's not got a good picture of anybody. It's not got a good audio of anyone, but it's got an idea of everything. And then I use that as my sequencer to pull everything to. So that will be my backbone. And then I will overlay onto it the better version of what's seen on the wall, the better version of the speaker, the better version of the audio inside the room. And I will just build everything onto, and I will use that as my sort of template, because we don't have time coding at our end of the industry. We can't synchronize all the equipment to a millisecond. That's just not available to us. So I use this as my backbone, my everything cam, and then I will then overlay stuff on top of it. Sometimes actually my overlay cam ends up with a better audio. This is what I use. It's a Sony hand. It's an old. It's a few years old now. But it's a prosumer level Sony Handycam. Yes, people, guys, these still exist. These are dedicated units for video. Don't stop thinking that it's only cameras you use nowadays. These things especially run. This will run for hours and hours and hours, and it will never have a problem because it's a proper video camera. What do we do when we talk about all these other cameras from even reputable people like Sony and Nikon and the rest? What do they always do when they test them? They test them to see if they're overheat, because they're not made for that. They might be manipulated and enhanced, but they're not made they're photography cameras with video capabilities. They've been designed that way. And whatever these manufacturers say, the first thing everybody does is to see if they'll overheat. These dedicated video cameras, after all, the broadcast world uses video cameras as well. You can get them at the prosumer level. Dedicated video cameras for dedicated video. This has got a 5.1 sound microphone on top. So and that's why this is really good. And it's got proper zoom. I don't mean, digital zoom. It's got a proper zoom. It's a proper camera. And this is great. I put it at the back of the building. It will still focus in on the speaker if I aim it right. And it will give me a great overall impression of the event. And then the 5.1 sound is really good if I want to get the room atmosphere in a particular part of the event. The applause at the end is probably a good example. And that gives me my backbone onto which everything else is built. And it works really well. Just any other video cameras are available, but I really recommend a dedicated video camera for that sort of use, because you can just leave it and it just runs and it doesn't work. You don't have to worry about it. So that's a quick plug for those types of. But again, that's a good example in a way, Mike, of something which was. Yeah, I was just trying to think when I bought it. It was in that grey area we have now between consumer and broadcast. It was sort of the basic version of the camera for broadcast. Now,
right. Yeah,
it's high tech, and it's the only thing it isn't 4K. But for what I'm using it for, I don't need 4K. I just need a good quality image of the venue and what's going on, so that I can then use it as my reference point for the whole event. Because it doesn't matter how switched on you are, you're doing all the stuff in production. That camera is going to pick up anything particular that happens or that I miss, and that when I do the recording, I can then use it as reference. But I thought NAB was really interested because it's yeah, it is blurring that world. There are lots of really cool bits of tech which are today broadcast, but next year could be prosumer. And the cloud is becoming a really key place because you know, in the old days, whenever the old days were, I can't remember now, but it was a long time ago, the old days. You went to a venue and you had an event, and then somebody had this really crazy idea of bringing a camera and putting the person on a big screen so they can be seen. And then somebody has a crazy idea of recording the event. But all that tech and all that work, that still predates quite considerably what happened when the internet turned up and we suddenly thought, oh, we just take all these signals and put them out on the internet. And yet here we are in 2026. And there's a lot of tech out there which is not IP connected yet. There's lots of tech out that does all this stuff, but can't live stream to all these amazing apps we have and systems we have online. And as an example, the latest Olympics, they were proudly doing YouTube videos behind the scenes showing you how they'd left half their production team back in the States because they'd finally managed to work out how to get all these feeds through the internet in a quality that they didn't have to worry about, so they could bring them back to their production teams in their bases and be able to process the information and put it back out to the internet, knowing, of course, that what they were doing, it could be a 30-second, it could be a 2-minute lag between what happened live and what goes to TV. That didn't matter. But the fact was that the technology actually allowed all of this information to wend its way across cables halfway around the world to get the data in. And if they weren't being so keen on showing us all, that would be because this technology had worked before, but it hadn't. This was the one time when they actually got to the point for the Olympics, for instance, and the tech was good enough that they relied on it and it worked. And yeah, still there's so many toys that don't work on the internet yet, but we're going that way. It's going to be going to be interesting to see how many of the promises are delivered. Because as Mike said, NAB only happens once a year, and therefore the broadcast community feel that they're almost committed to announce anything they're going to do during the year at that show, because they're not going to get a better place to announce the product. And therefore there are lots of things which are announced. I mean, I don't know. I got a feeling that there was or may have not been a majority, Mike, but there was certainly a very high number of things that were talked about at NAB, where if you said, here's my credit card, can I take it home with me? They would have said, not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Or this is the sample unit that we're showing at the show. Or this is the sample system that we're showing at the show. Or perfect example too, I even saw through some of the influencers that actually said that some of the actual Blackmagic demo units that were actually in the booth, certain functionality was not working as expected. So so there you go. When it comes to, so yes, so could they actually leave? Here's my credit card, I'm taking this home with me. No. It's not that type of show. It's not that type of show that they have an inventory in the back that all of a sudden Blackmagic doesn't pay for inventory space at the show, so that they could sell you the latest ATEM Mini Pro, which in this case, of course, everybody feels that they've forgotten about, but they didn't really. But keep your eyes peeled would be my thought. Blackmagic doesn't give up. If they truly gave up on the ATEM Mini line, then they would start discontinuing it. So if they still think that there's a viable market for them to still be making it and for you guys to still be buying it, it's still there. Go ahead, John.
That's very true, actually, because there's quite a few products out there now which are maybe 2 years old, not just 1 year old, maybe 2 years old or 3 years old, but they're still really good products and they do what they need to do and they provide a service and they work well. There's some, well, as you brought up Black Magic, there's some Black Magic products out there. I mean, they're 2, 3 years old, but they still do exactly what they say on the tin and they're still being purchased because they provide the service. And it's the same with the cameras, isn't it? There's a bit of a problem in the old camera industry at the moment because there's no really new groundbreaking technology at the moment on the sensors. I mean, they keep talking about sensors getting bigger, but there's no real major leap forward in camera technology at the moment, and therefore the cameras that are out there are just as good. And it's tweaking bits of software and little features added that are being uh, provided, and the basic electronics of it all is just working as well as it did a year or two ago.
Yeah. And a lot of the cameras too, what they're doing now too is making sure that the camera has potential of some sort of upgradability. Right. So they are making it when they're actually building the physical camera, their brain inside may be upgradable. So all of a sudden in the future, you can have this feature or that feature magically added, just like all of a sudden an A10 Mini Pro on the Blackmagic side can now be used as, if you don't even want to use it for video, now you can use it strictly as an audio USB audio interface.
What do we say at the beginning about dedicated appliance and software? You're right. I mean, yeah, I haven't got my camera. Oh, yes, I have. I've got a camera here. So again, one of my favorite things to say, Mike, is that this is a camera with a really pathetic camera, but it uses £1,000 worth or £500 dollars or whatever, depending on your phone, of software to try and make this signal look good from the camera's point of view and to make the audio good from a camera's point of view.
Yeah. And again, a lot of the influencers, that's what they were running around NAB with, was a lot of them were running around with a year-old iPhone, if not the latest iPhone. And that's how they were recording all their interviews.
But phones are not just doing it. Now, as you say, cameras now are not dedicated electronics. I know we were having a go about software, and this is really tying it up nicely because lots of the cameras now have some sort of software intelligence in there which can be upgraded. And it's not just upgrading the menus or the simple things like that operationally. They've actually got a programmable intelligence inside them to a degree, obviously not as good as a computer, but they have a programmable intelligence and they're able to upgrade those to add new features which weren't there before, which may be connectivity based, maybe add a bit of the USB used to just do file transfer, but maybe we'll get the USB to do streaming, for instance. That may be something you can do. Blackmagic, sorry, Blackmagic's just got good examples of all this. Sorry, the other manufacturers. Send me your demo units, and we'll promise to give you a good run as well. But Blackmagic have been working recently on a autofocus based system. Now that's software based, but they've got a great range of cameras that they could actually implement it on. And I think the limitation is going to come to which of those cameras have the sensors and the lenses that will get the best bang for the buck when they make this autofocus technology released. But they're beta testing it and showing it to people, and it works really well on a great range of cameras, into which, as you say, they can update the software. This could be, a bit like that car company said, we're not a car company, we're a software company. A lot of these tech companies now in the broadcast industry are becoming, a greater part of them is becoming a software company because they add this intelligence into their units and then they want to broadcast. So then they want control units and they want software. And if they're going to add enhancements in the cloud, that's software. So at the end of the day, they're all becoming bigger and bigger on the software side than the hardware side.
Yeah. Absolutely, Johnny. And again, when it comes to, I was just thinking of all the different examples that were coming to my brain as you were speaking about that. So there was, okay. So again, if the company wants to grow more into the SaaS, software as a service scenario, then yes, and this goes back to what I said earlier, which is got to get that piece of gear that they're selling, that product of theirs, on IP, and then figure out how am I going to get it up to our SaaS, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that too, the other one quick thing I wanted to add about cameras was that to make sure that yes, there's all the functionality that and everything that can be done in the sensors, but did they build out those cameras brain big enough and powerful enough to handle IP or whatever that next feature is going to be? Because that will be the limitation a lot of the times of, can I add this feature to this unit or not? In Blackmagic scenario too, there's certain models that this USB audio interface feature does not work for.
Yeah.
Why? Because it didn't have the guts when they
Or the
built it in the
processor.
first place, right? To handle it, so they can't do that now in that certain model. And everybody's going, why isn't it? It's in this model, but not that one, because it has different brains. Is the official high, without going deep into the depths of, oh, this has got that chip and this one's got this chip. So again, the broadcast world is definitely growing. They're definitely moving more to the cloud. They're definitely more moving to IP, and they're definitely moving more into being friendlier with each other. And this is where, the different protocols and such has been there over the years, but it's becoming more and more that they know that they have to work together more, because people are not going to necessarily just buy their own brand of products.
Yeah.
So
it's very difficult.
Yeah. So right now they can't be a quote unquote, a lot of them understand that where Blackmagic is going, yes, use our Blackmagic 2110, but yet it's a modified 2110. But if I tried to use another brand with my Blackmagic 2110, it might not work. Where a lot of the other bigger broadcast brands are going, no, I'm not modifying anything to the 2110. I'm making sure that I'm as compatible as I can be to anybody else out there on the world. And they are making sure they, quote unquote, play nice with others, right? And that's where it's coming down to a lot late. And I've seen that over the last year, if not two, where everybody knows everybody. If you are big enough of a brand in the broadcast world, everybody knows everybody, right? Because the industry is really that small. And for you to be taken seriously, if you're not one of those brands that everybody knows everybody, then chances are you're not being bought or used. And if you are some of the smaller brands that are trying to be that brand, you need reliability, you need consistency, and you need to gain the integrity that, I have no problem using this product. And then the word of mouth going through the industry going, oh, you used that for that? And you were okay? Notice what I said there? And you were okay? That's a very important sentence in the broadcast world. That is totally production, broadcast level quality comment that, and you were okay, meaning that you didn't have any hiccups during the event using that gear. That automatically says to the other person, especially if that person already has credibility with each other, tells them, maybe I should look at it.
Yeah. And the definition of the broadcast industry, there is the traditional broadcast industry, which is the TV shows and the productions of that. But of course, there's this other broadcast industry now, this internet broadcast industry, which is growing. And you're right, they've got to choose what production values they're going to have. But well, like us as well, yeah. They've got to produce shows. They've got to decide what production levels they have, what quality they want. They're going to have to decide whether they're going to put a green screen up, and then whenever they move their chair, it shows a little bit of green or not. They're going to have to decide at what distance they are from their camera, because if I got too far away from my camera, I wouldn't get a good quality picture out of this particular one. It's not designed for that. It's not designed for that, and it shouldn't be used for that. Use what you've got to the right way it's manufactured and what it's good for. Things for the right places. But yes, if you're going to carve your own niche, Mike, you've got to make sure as a manufacturer that outside your niche, you can hand the problem into or onto other platforms where you don't have a product. And if you garden wall yourself out from connecting to those other systems, then you're going to limit your opportunities. It's one of those, if you think your product's good enough, you're going to have to compete in an open environment. If you have a closed environment, then you've got to provide everything in that environment. And if you don't, you'll fail, which is why, yeah, Blackmagic is a good example of taking a chance on a particular range of things. But they're not totally taking a chance because, of course, they've still got a range of products which is completely outside 2110. And they've given a whole set of interfaces so people can connect with 2110. So if you can have a camera from any manufacturer and it's got a SDI link, you should be able to plug it into their environment.
Right, exactly.
They're all trying to set out their little area that they want to be expertise in, and then they're all now looking how they use the cloud and other technologies to allow their signals and their data to come in and come out of their world from other people's worlds. And that's when it gets interesting, I suppose, for us in the smaller production world, because we live on those connections, don't we? We can't afford to go in all in on one manufacturer for a big tech. But we want to make use of some of that tech in some situations. So we may want a 4K switcher because we've got a situation in that we have to have 4K. Maybe in the room we want to have 4K around, and we want the quality there. But when we go to online, maybe we step down to HD. So we need some 4K equipment that we can connect into all our infrastructure. And at the smaller end of the industry, connectivity is probably a bigger issue because we can't go all in on a particular manufacturer or technology, because we can't afford to just pension off all the other equipment we have around us. So it is interesting, and I don't know what NAB next year is going to be, but I have a feeling that AI is going to encroach even more.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everything already was, if you didn't have AI or even a reference to AI, or you're AI compatible, or you can use AI to use your product, then again, just like I was saying, IP again is AI is going to be it's both of those. It's going to be, is my gear IP or not? Is my gear AI or not? Right now, it's not. Should it be or shouldn't it be? Is the sooner it is for the brands, the better it is, especially for the broadcast world. Now, eventually, the smaller brands will have to catch up, but that's fine. That's why they're prosumer versus professional versus broadcast, right? Because again, the broadcast world's already there. There are major television broadcasters that are already IP. And a lot of them have done the infrastructure. A lot of them have spent thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to retrofit themselves away from analog over to digital, which means they're fully going IP. So there is it is there. And the broadcasters want to know, okay, brands, what can you do for me? Right? Because now, and how nicely do you play with each other? Because I'm not only going to use you, I'm going to use him, and I'm going to use her.
Yeah.
So perfect example would be a Grass Valley video switcher using a Sony camera that is also using, VizRT graphics.
Yep.
I'm 3 brands now. Are we all playing nice with each other? Yes or no?
You got to.
Got to is right.
Yeah, you got to honor the technology that other people deliver, and Be able to integrate with it. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to take the risk. You've got to have a way out, a back door, or let's put any other analogy in there you like. You need to have the interaction, because I can't say the other word, and you need to be able to connect to technologies. And if you can't, you're not going to get anywhere. And
Yeah,
if you
I
don't,
was trying to think of that word too, John. Interruptibility, is that the word?
that's almost there. Yeah, yeah.
It's almost there. Yeah, yeah.
So I have no more notes to go through. Is there anything you want to add, Mike?
No, I do know that there are some brands that are trying to again increase their, at the prosumer level. Some of the brands have decided that they want to creep up more and compete against the Black Magics of the world. So some of them have come up with little larger switchers. Some of them are coming up with little different capabilities of being able to do wireless related streaming events. But there's still a lot of futures when they were talking in that regards too, in the regards that they've sort of figured out that they can have the prototype at the show and don't have to be able to say tomorrow I want to be able to pick it up. But again, for those brands, they have to be careful because it's expected at their level. Where at the broadcast level or at the broadcast products level, it's not expected.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those days going to computer shows, and I had to have tens of thousands of dollars worth of inventory under the desk or in a van parked outside. Because if I couldn't show it and sell it at the same time, the number of people that weren't going to buy it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have it there.
And again, when it comes to NAB, they know that the broadcasters come.
Yeah.
Right. It's not necessarily prosumers and influencers and such. They know that once a year, the broadcasters are allowed to have budget from all their TV stations across the world to go to NAB to actually see what's the latest broadcast toys that they could potentially add to their broadcast systems. Right. And people are allowed to have budgets to be able to expense, to be able to travel to NAB. So they know they have a dedicated broadcast audience where you don't necessarily walk away with equipment. That's not expected, nor wanted. If anything, then it would have to be drop shipped from the venue, because a lot of the equipment would be that big that you would have to literally go, okay, yeah, they might sign the deal at the show.
Yeah. But I'll deliver later.
But never are you physically walking out of there with a dolly that has the kit in a box that you're pushing to you're going to put in the, as they would say in the UK, put in the boot of your car and go home. No, that is not, NAB has never been that show, nor will it ever be. At least as far as I see. Now things are changing there too.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Mike.
No problem.
Thank you very much for everybody being here. I think we're about ready to call this to a close. Thank you to all those people watching online and those people in the house. Although they're quiet, they're obviously just listening, so that's fine. So, well, unless I get offered something that actually works, I may well have to continue my personal quest to get these bits of technology that we've been talking about together and make them work in a interoperable environment. So I got to say the word at the end. High five to me. Thank you to Mike for your contribution today again, as always.
Of course.
And we'll see you guys next week for more fun for your production professional life. As they say, take it away, Mike.
Yeah, take care, everyone. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to let YouTube know how much you love our content. See you guys and gals next week.
Come on, yeah. Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voices clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better system, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Protection Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside, the future's now. Welcome to the Power Hour. Switches, streaming, mics and light, making every moment land just right. Guests and makers join the conversation, bringing insight, crafting innovation. From the first idea to the final frame, every tool can change the game. Manufacturers, pros and brands, sharing real solutions firsthand. Live or hybrid, room or remote. Every cue and every note. Smarter workflow, stronger shows. That's the way the power grows. It's the Protection Professionals